What's up, nerds? It's Havoc. Got another game for you guys here today on Tunis. I'm playing against the legendary Theodosios. I'm position 2 on UK forces, and Theo is position 6 on the Wehrmacht. This game, I'm going to break down the... This is an interesting game. It's a bit shorter, but I think it highlights really well like my standard kind of go-to strategy as UK forces against Wehrmacht. So I'll kind of talk through that, some of the key decisions, and with that, we'll jump into it. So this is very standard opener for me is double sapper start into early infantry sections. If I'm playing against DAC, I'm always going for Dingo. I think I've commented on that before when I'm playing against DAC. But when I'm playing against Wehrmacht, I usually go for sections, 3 sections to get started. Sections, they scale really well. They trade well with grenadiers, so they're generally a good choice in this matchup. And regardless of which battle group you go, you're generally going to need them, so it's always a good idea to grab them. So I want to call out here, just as we're getting started, my capture orders. So I started with having my first sapper go to my plus 10 fuel and fortify it. And then I walked straight to this building rather than going down for this capture for the cutoff area. Reason being, munitions not nearly as important as fuel in the early game to make sure that you have connected. So I'm missing a few seconds on this munitions point, but I'm actually going to speed up the rate at which I connect my fuel because my section is coming out of base and going to capture the cutoff here. And the sapper is going to secure the hardest point, which is this building right here. This is probably the best building on the map. It's got the most health. It provides vision. It has a rooftop that goes all the way around. So if you get control of this building early, then you're going to be able to make decisions on how you're going to either attack or defend. And it's also going to give you a ton of vision because it gives the omnidirectional vision. And when you're in buildings, your units also get more vision. So it's great for gathering information. So capturing this building or these buildings are also very important. On the other side is the best way to kind of build your plan of attack for the next few minutes in this match. So I also want to call out here this wire that I'm doing. So I'm actually doing my best to deny access to the entrance of this door. And on the side that I'm on, this is generally the best way to do that because your opponent's going to have to walk around the outside of the wire on the capture point in order to get in, which if you're standing here or here is going to give you plenty of time to shoot at whatever unit that is. And then if you're spawning on this side, then this is the point you want to wire in between this little generator, it looks like, and the barrels, because that is going to force your opponent to walk all the way around this outside if they want to get through this door. And this door access is really nice because it provides access to your +5 munitions point. So it's a great this is a great spot for you to control with wire in the early game. So with that, we're going to carry on following our standard capture order. So section is going to capture the cutoff here. Sapper is going to capture the +10 fuel. And this map is generally all about like how you attack your opponent's fuel and defend your own. I've said this before, whoever generally gets the fuel tempo is going to control the course of the game. So the best thing to be doing is getting control of your fuel, getting access to the middle and control these middle buildings, and then planning your attack on your opponent's fuel or responding to an attack from them. But obviously you want to be attacking if you're going to be the one that's getting the fuel tempo, because if you're defending, then you're not able to do that as well. Standing near the building here on this left-hand side, if he decides to pull up to this green cover with some grenadiers or something, I'll be able to jump into this building, which he does. I finish the neutralize here and then jump in the building. I'm going to be able to trade effectively against grenadiers at this range, so I'm very content to take this engagement. But you can see as the machine gun sets up, to make sure that I'm not taking too much damage, I'm just going to step outside of the building and wait. In the meantime, I'm going to go into the middle here, capture the victory point. I I can see here he's either I didn't complete this wire or he cut it. I'm not sure which of those. I think it was the latter. Now I'm jumping back in the building here to avoid the high ground advantage that he has. We can see that he's actually rotated his machine gun to try and shoot at me in this cover, but now the building is blocking his line of sight. So this is a really favorable engagement for me. Because I see his machine gun, I'm starting to maneuver my section around the arc where I know he probably isn't going to be, but he actually did a great job. You can notice, like, the way that he set up his machine gun, he's not quite able to hit the building because of the arc that he's got, but he's covering perfectly his own flank, and he actually suppresses me here, so I have to pull away. So we're just going to back away. Yeah, I have a flamer queued up on my sapper. This is part of the reason I love going to sapper in the early game, is because you can get access to a flamethrower without worrying about the damage that mines are going to do to you. The UK forces is generally one of the few factions. I mean, Wehrmacht also does this, but it's natural, I think, to build 2 sappers because they are very strong. They're strong combat units, unlike pioneers, and they're very effective for their cost, unlike American engineers. They're a little bit expensive. Don't have the same combat effectiveness as sappers. So double sappers is pretty standard. You can see here I'm queuing up my 3rd infantry section. Unluckily, we actually get pinned there. I thought maybe I'd be able to soft retreat my way out of that engagement. You can see he's pushing in here. Again, I'm very content to take the engagement at this range. And I can see that his machine gun is set up here. Now, I got really unlucky because the suppression damage that he's dealing to my units in green cover that actually can't be suppressed is being passed on to my engineer, which is walking next to the building. So I got a little bit unlucky when I was pushing into the approach this building to flame it out. And as a result, he's able to kind of respond, get his grenadiers in position. I'm actually very lucky that the suppression hits me here. I'm not taking too much damage. Still able to get some really great flame bursts off because he's very grouped together. And I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to hit as many models as I can with the flamethrower because of the area of effect damage. Decapturing my plus. He should have wired this this front part of the sandbags because I'm actually able to get some cover from it. And right now we're actually doing a great job because while all this engagement is going on, we're trading okay. We are decapturing the fuel, which is going to give us the tempo that we talked about, right? So that's a huge win. I also want to call out here, this is a little mistake, I think, from Theo, getting the medical station, especially this early. The Vet 1 would have been much, much better for him and allowed him to trade better into my sections as well as heal his units on the field. And because he has 3 Grenadiers, he'd be able to heal with all 3 of them or use medkits on all 3 of them. So I think a bit of a mistake there from Theo. It's going to affect his pacing and his tempo. Now I'm using my weakest unit to go and capture this outer +10 fuel point. Munitions point. I also want to call out here, I feel like what I've seen from other players is like going to connect this very early on. This point's really not that important, and it takes away a lot of your potential tempo in the early game because usually what I see players do is they'll capture this, and then they'll go up here. And what that does is create a huge opening for your opponent to come and seize control of these buildings, which, like I said, are super important because of the vision they provide, and also because of the rooftops. Any engagement that you have, unless you have a flamethrower or a mortar against one of these buildings, if you're just doing infantry to infantry, you're going to be losing that trade because they're getting the accuracy bonus for being on top of the roof. Units on top of rooftops get an extra 25% accuracy. So even if you're in green cover, you're going to lose that trade probably. So I'm taking my weaker unit that just was in the engagement here. And again, rather than, pulling the back to base, I'm continuing to be active. Now I'm going to go take the opportunity to go and connect this +10. You'll notice here I'm actually walking straight to his +10 fuel because, again, I'm trying to build that fuel tempo that I talked about. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this section squad up behind and capture this if I'm able to connect this. But really all I'm interested in doing here, for sure, is disconnecting this point. Using my flamethrower to get close to this building, maintaining control of these buildings with your flamethrower engineer and keeping them in the center of the map is going to be integral to controlling those areas. Just getting into a strong cover position here with this other section. Waiting to see if he's going to respond. There, I was going to say I was not quite in the cover there that he set. I also want to call this out. The way that he built this cover is not the most favorable for him, because you see, I actually get some benefit from this if he's walking up to me this way. So in order for him to approach this, he's going to have to come from the outside in order for me to get no benefit. So I think changing the angle of his sandbags to be more like this, just like a 15-degree rotation slightly, would make a big difference. So we've got great tempo right now. We've disconnected this +10 once. We've disconnected this +10 as well. And now we're getting control of this side of the map. And we're going straight into our Humber. This is also, this is like the essential part of any build that I do with the UK forces. Starting with getting the Humber as soon as possible is going to allow you to continue to build your advantage. Pound for pound, like squad for squad, all of your units are better than Wehrmacht at the beginning of the game until the Grens get officer quarters, generally speaking. And your sappers are going to be much stronger than pioneers. So you can to really take advantage of like those early game engagements and then leverage those into an early Humber that's going to help you continue to capitalize and build more map presence, which is going to accelerate you into your tier 4, which I'll talk about when we get there. So I can see his machine gun setting up. I'm actually just going to back away rather than take the suppression damage and get in this green cover. Again, if this sandbag was rotated about 15 degrees, he would get a lot more benefit against the section in this position here. I was going to say, didn't do a good job here. I should have focused on the Pioneer that was closing the gap. Units that are moving are always going to be more susceptible to fire than units that are standing still. And also, this is a threat as it gets closer, so I needed to focus on this squad instead of the Grenadier in this case. So coming in with the Humber on the flank, trying to get in the position to have some effect on the machine gun. But he does a good job stepping away here. I stopped my Humber a little bit too early, and this is why it's so... This is why I know a lot of players are kind of apprehensive about using the Humber. Focusing my sappers on flushing away this squad so I can make sure that he can't walk up and Panzerfaust me again. And then he's chasing me with the Grenadiers. I'm getting in green cover with my sections. And I'm backing away using the road because it gives me additional speed, which is going to allow me to outrun his Grenadiers that are pursuing me. And then we're going to go back to fuel harassment. I'm going in there with my healthiest squad. I actually didn't know that he retreated both of his Grenadiers, but I know his machine gun is over here. And surprisingly, he kind of just like gets the capture of retreats. So again, we're building more very good tempo here. Through our fuel control and the engagements that we're winning. Let's open up the map here. We can see for Theo's gone for tier 3. And the Pack 40 anti-tank gun. I've gone to bully his engineer off of the victory point in the south, so I can maintain control of that. I'm going to plant some quick mines. These are great mine positions because oftentimes your opponent will find their vehicles driving around these buildings. And so these are great places to plant these mines. This is more defensive one. This is more aggressive because if you've got a vehicle that's like pathing through here or something to kind of attack you on the road, then you're going to be able to snare it there. And this is a very common position or staging area for whoever's on the north side of the map. And so several times you're going to have like machine guns here, AT guns, whatever. And this is obviously in direct line of sight of an AT gun that we could potentially there. Okay. Connected there. I believe I'm thinking about infantry training at this point because I know how many infantry squads that he has. And this is going to allow me to continue to build and kind of exacerbate the lead that I've got. Almost got caught there. Woo! Very close to getting caught. Okay, and I've got an AT gun on the field. I'm anticipating either a Humber, or not a Humber, a Stug D from him, or potentially an 8-Rad. Mechanized has been very, very popular right now for Wehrmacht players, and because he hasn't built a vehicle like a 251 or something like that, then I'm thinking the AT gun is going to be the safe choice for me. I kind of have mixed feelings about preemptively building AT guns. I think as long as you have snares, generally you're okay. And you can see here, that's what I'm teching. I'm teching snares. This is a great time to be doing it around the 6, 7, 8 minute mark, because that's when your opponent's going to be fielding some more aggressive light vehicles. So like a 251, 221 in the super early game, you know, you can always tech nades kind of reactively when you see them, because they're not really going to threaten to kill you. But an 8-Rad can kill units as soon as it hits the field, so it's very important to have your nades teched by that time.
We're losing a victory point.
So you can see Theo setting up here in the middle. I still don't know that he has the pack yet. I don't know that he's gone for tier 3. I'm getting my suppress squad into the building to remove the suppression. Getting the other squad here into green cover. He's done a good job of defusing his mines with his pioneer squads. Stepping out the other side. It's very common. I just want to call out. It's very common for your opponent when they throw grenades. They're going to throw them at one of the doors in the building. So all you have to do is watch the trajectory of the grenade and step your unit outside the building on the other side of the door, so that you're not going to take the grenade damage. A lot of players make the mistake of just pressing the unload button to get out of buildings. But what you want to be doing is, I'll actually show you. You want to select the building or select your squad in the building. So you have two ways to do that. One is click on the building itself, then hit tab, and that's going to take you and select your squad. And then by right clicking on either side, it's going to allow you to decide which door they're going to get out. Whereas like if you just hit this unload button, it might it's kind of, I don't know if it's random, if there's like a default, I'm not really sure. But it just gives you more control, which can make a big difference when you're holding a position like this. Going for Bren guns on my sections. Bren is like the premium DPS option for sections. And now that I believe I've gone for training, or I'm thinking about going for training pretty soon. This is really going to allow me to, there we go, I'm actually starting to construct it now. Between training and Bren guns, his infantry is going to be completely outclassed by mine, which is going to allow me to continue to build the lead that I've got. Again, leveraging this building, the high ground position, very effective. Section hits a mine, but I'm just trying to go for the decapture here. Get my training ticking there. I'm just going to get the decapture. And I think... Oh, this is important. Yeah, I'm actually standing. I'm trying to separate the models in my squad so I don't take too much damage from the flamer. But as soon as he starts hitting me, I'm realizing, okay, I need to... I probably need to get out of here. I'm going to get cooked. Okay, and he's going to recapture his fuel there. We've done a great job. Let's actually take a look at the fuel advantage that we're starting to build here. You can see the pretty substantial fuel difference between the both of us. I've got, what is that? About 70 more? No, sorry. Can't math. What is that? 60? No, 30, 50, 50, 53 fuel more than he does, which is great. Kind of building into my plan to tempo my way into tier 4. Which I'll be thinking about pretty soon as we get closer. And now we get our first exposure to his Fallschirmjägers. You can see he's actually gone here for the officer quarters in the Panzer Grenadier Company. I think this is good to do. Fallschirmjägers are very strong with this, but I think you need at least 2, to be honest, to make it worth it. Especially when you're doing a Grenadier heavy build. Personally, if I'm planning to go Fallschirmjägers, I'm usually only going 2 Grenadiers instead of 3. Because I can kind of work them in pairs so that the Grenadiers are partnered up with the Fallschirmjägers. And we're getting the most benefit out of them by merging. So getting into the green cover here, using the Flamer to flush him out of this position, deal as much damage as I can. Looks like he's actually gone for a Fallschirm Pioneer drop, which I'm a little confused by. I think it's a little bit late to be getting the benefit of these guys, so I think this is actually a little bit of a mistake by him. Saving his manpower for another Fallschirmjäger would have been a much better choice. This is a very, very expensive engineer unit, and a lot of the benefit that you get from it is the tempo of dropping it somewhere at the very beginning of the game. So building it this late, I would not recommend. I think this was actually a bit of a mistake by him. So he's going for the grenade launcher. Grenade launcher is actually solid on this map, provides good damage against units that are in buildings or in cover. And because I can see that he's leaned a lot into infantry, I'm going to continue leaning as well by bringing in a Gurkha squad. These guys get a lot of flack, but I still think they're like incredibly strong at the moment. So I'm upgrading them straight with the Bren gun from the jump. I think the Bren gun is categorically better than the Thompsons because you're basically just running yourself into less risk by using the Bren, because the Thompsons, you have to close the gap on your opponent, which means like you can take damage, you can get caught out by a vehicle, you're more susceptible to losing it. The Bren is a much more safe and universal option, and it's pretty cheap relative to the infantry section Bren too. Also, it can fire on the move, which is a great benefit as well. So moving my Gurkhas here into green cover to defend the victory point. You can see here I'm focused on the high value Fallschirmjäger squad, but then hopefully, as he closes the gap here, he throws a grenade, which I dodge. I'm gonna focus on the squads that are more exposed. Now, in situations like this, generally, when you're engaging your opponent at range, focus on the Grenadier squad first, unless you've seen it recently merge, because that is going to have a more substantial effect on the length of the entire engagement, because the Grenadiers are squishier, and if you're able to kill or force away this squad before it merges into whatever other unit you're fighting, then that means that your opponent's not going to have the opportunity to merge into this and get the benefit of, like, you know, if a Grenadier merges into a Fallschirmjäger, they get more DPS, they get more health. So by focusing on the Grenadier first, I'm taking away that option and forcing him to basically, like, get into another position that's more advantageous with his Fallschirmjäger, or, like, close the gap on me. Various things. But focusing on the Grenadier here is probably the best target. I'm not sure if I actually do that, but important to call it there. Again, I'm continuing to apply pressure to his top fuel, never losing perspective on the entirety of the map here.
We have a surplus of command points available.
Engaging with the section in this building cover. It's very favorable engagement for me at long range. Using my AT gun to apply pressure to the Grenadier in this building. Obviously, I haven't been able to use the AT gun for much else, but AT guns are great for tearing down buildings. So if you're having a lot of trouble with a specific building, spending your AT gun's time focusing on it, you can actually leave it so that there's a tiny little bit of health left, so that if you're lucky, your opponent's not going to pay attention. They'll load their squad into the building, and then you can take it out in one shot. That's a little trick I've seen some players pull off. Okay, so he's recapturing his fuel, he's alleviating the VP pressure that he's got, and he's going for a sniper. I don't think snipers are in a great position at the moment, because they don't really provide a ton of tempo. They can bleed your opponent, which can be pretty good, but they don't really help you acquire much extra map control. So I think, like, generally here, another Fallschirmjäger would have been a much better choice for him. Or teching to tier 4 and going Stoss. I mean, I also just, as categorically, I don't really use snipers. They're not really my thing. So yeah, I don't love this choice from him, but he is going to get some good value out of it, and is going to bleed me pretty well. But the other thing I want to call out here is, like, think about from a macro perspective. He knows that I've gone for what is this called? Indian Artillery, Indian Infantry. What is it called? Battle group. Indian Artillery. Sorry about that. Indian Artillery, you have access to Volunteer, which reduces your reinforce cost as well as your time. This is kind of going to negate the impact that his sniper has. So I think like again, you know, I think if I had gone for another battle group, maybe this would have made sense. Like Aaron C or Aussies could have been good. But this is probably one of the weaker battle groups to be using a sniper against. Because a lot of the bleed that I'm going to incur, I'm going to actually kind of negate with my volunteer infantry costs. And I'm going to be thinking about tier 4 here pretty soon. I did manage to lose my Humber to an AT gun during one of those engagements, which is unfortunate. I actually I forgot to call it out in this game, as I did probably when I was getting shot by the AT gun. Didn't notice in time. Which is unfortunate because that's going to take away a little bit of my tempo into getting my early Crusader. What you want to do is keep this thing alive until tier 4 and then just refit it into a fast Crusader, which I would have done, but we ended up doing kind of anyways. But now you'll notice my section composition here. I've gone for 2 Brens and a Recce. I think the Recce is still super valuable. The extra vision that you get, not as good DPS as Bren squads, but it is going to offer the extra utility of flares, also the artillery barrage. So that is another great choice. And if you're going 3 sections, I would recommend this, generally speaking. And with that, I actually want to call out too that I don't really use boys rifles because they kind of make it so that your sections don't really scale against infantry anymore. So I've been favoring just going for grenades, making sure I have enough AT units like AT guns, guards, a 2-pounder, whatever, as well as my snares on the sections. You can see here, like any of these engagements, like I'm vet 2 now, I'm just going to completely chew up these grenadiers between the Bren gun and infantry training. And you can see I'm starting to pull away here in terms of infantry kills as a result. So we're applying continuous pressure all over the map. We're all over the place, not overly consolidated in one area. And Tunis is an important map to do that on because the fuel strong points are so spread apart. Your focal points basically on your side are obviously defending your +10, your cutoff, which is the road, and the natural +10 in front of your base. And then the opposite on the other side. So you always want to be thinking about how can I apply pressure to one of these points where my opponent is going to be weakest. And the more you do that, the more you're going to build fuel tempo and dictate kind of the pace of the game. Got really lucky here, jumped in this building. He's going to lose this engagement for sure at this range. Gurkha's coming around the side. Let's see here. I know his sniper has to be in this area somewhere because he sniped one of my other squads previously. So I'm actually trying to do a swing maneuver with the Gurkhas in here, but not before trying to pick up this Fallschirmjäger squad. You can see I've got a grenade assault queued up on his retreat path. A little bit late, unfortunately, so I end up canceling it. And then once I've spotted his sniper, I try to use the Io Gurkhali charge to close the gap and see if I can pick it off. But he plants a fantastic mine right next to his +10 that forces me to retreat here. Up in the north here, I led into a VP with my section squad and then flanked around the machine gun that he had in the trench here with my flamethrower engineer. Gonna plant a mine as well. Again, we've been really consistent and continuous with the fuel pressure that we're able to apply, which is great. He's actually managed to get his Panzer Company up regardless, which is great for him. See, he's got a sniper and his grenade launcher squad here, so I'm going to be forced away, which is fine. Try to dodge that grenade. Oh, that was a good throw from the Fallschirmjäger, but we dodged that. AT guns still doing nothing pretty much this game. And this is kind of why I have mixed feelings about pre-building these, is because if you build them and then you just end up, like, they kind of just cost you because they cost upkeep over the course of the game. So sometimes I reactively build my AT guns, but depending on my opponent, if I respect them a lot, I'll build an AT gun early. Thankfully, it didn't hurt my engagements against him too much, because, you know, we've got very strong infantry through training and the Gurkhas and our weapon upgrades. We're still trading into him very effectively. Just poking from a safe distance with my early Crusader here. I'm going to be thinking about getting another one. I really like early Crusaders, especially on this map, because it's so open and the Crusader is so fast. It really complements my general style, which is like I like to be much more aggressive and decisive, and the Crusaders can quickly close the gap and deal really good damage against infantry when they come out. So they're a great supplement to your troops, and the more of them you get, you know, if you can amass like 2 or 3 of them, they become really, really deadly. So I got cooked a little bit when I was in the building, got out so he couldn't deal the extra damage to me. Now that I've spotted his machine gun out, I'm trying to get into a flanking position here. Crusader applying pressure to the Grenadier on the flank here. You'll notice, like, and I generally do this, unlike US forces, I am applying a lot of consolidated pressure with my UK infantry into the middle sector. And using my vehicles and then like a couple of stray squads to focus on the outside territory points. UK can go toe-to-toe with Wehrmacht infantry, machine guns, because they have the long-range prowess, the infantry sections do. Bringing them together and using them to support each other, staying in green cover using their passive, like all of that is going to allow you to amass an advantage over your opponent, and you can engage them directly. Unlike US forces, you really want to focus on making sure you can find opportunities to close the gap and flank. And then obviously with, you know, with infantry training, like they're also scaling really, really well. So I've got most of my troops concentrated in the middle sector. Crusader's going to be covering the flank. Gets a couple nice bounces on the side armor there, but I only have the 2-pounder gun, so it's not too surprising that he's going to bounce those. Just checking his base to see what else he's got. With the flare there. See if I can spot out where he's moving to. Now, I can hear... Let me do this. I can hear his tank moving in the fog. And you can also see the rocks like crumble. That's kind of what clues me into the fact that he's probably going to come to defend his +10. And you can see I'm immediately rotating around with my AT gun and my double Crusader, because if I can manage to catch him without his pack support, the Panzer IV, then I'm going to be able to pick up the kill and probably close out the game, because I've got 2 vehicles to 0 effectively. And you also notice here, I'm not retreating straight away, because I actually want to bait him in and get him build his confidence that he can like deal damage or potentially wipe this squad. So I think I'm going to wait till I see it. Yeah, see, I'm going to draw him in with the Gurkha. And then I actually ran into a Grenadier here, which made me a little apprehensive and think that maybe there could be a pack, because a pack shot plus a snare is going to disable one of my Crusaders. So I actually back away from this plan that I had, and you can see my 6-pounder sets up in a more defensive position. You can see here, like, I'm really, really intentional about the open opportunities that I have when I'm not actively engaging my opponent. I'm thinking about how can I posture to be aggressive? How can I posture to kill their most important units, even when there's downtime? So doing things like that, laying mines, like building defenses, all that stuff is super, super important, and being active all the time. So Vet 3 section here with the Bren, going to be super effective in the green cover. We're focusing on his Grenadier squad in the open. Trade blows there with the P4. You can make a good use of the green cover here, flushing out that Fallschirmjäger squad.
Our tankers have finished their drills, and not a moment too soon.
See, we've spotted out his sniper. So I'm going to pull this away. I know where his sniper is now. Finally, we'll get a chance to use my AT gun, so I'm going to bring it around over here. Does a great job suppressing me with the machine gun in the center. And I'm actually just going to make sure my tanks are away safely, and then I'm going to retreat my infantry. We're doing a really great job applying the VP pressure here. He's getting down pretty low. We can see he's gone for a second pack, which, considering, I don't know. I mean, honestly, considering he's so close to another Panzer IV in terms of fuel, that might have been a better choice. But a pack is okay too.
Smashing work.
Getting into the green cover here before I engage the MG, but unfortunately I wasn't quite in it. Taking damage from the sniper. Don't want to bleed too much, so I'm just going to back away here. Get my tanks repaired. All my sections are getting pretty close to Vet 3. Unsurprisingly, the Recce section is always going to vet the last relative to your Bren sections because these guys just deal way more damage. He actually managed to kill one of my sappers as well, so I'm going to go ahead and replace that because it was the one with the minesweeper, which I really, really need, especially against good players. You guys probably know the saying, mines win games, so it's important for me to have a sweeper on the field.
Engineers on the field and ready for your orders.
Getting back into this hard point, which is this building, leveraging the high ground. Staying in green cover with my sections. This is why, like, honestly, I feel like everybody says, like, US infantry is easier to, like, blob and just, like, overtake your opponent with. But I really love sections the most. They're probably I think they're, like, the best line infantry squads because they have a long-range damage profile. They have a very strong passive. They get access to training, which is just a flat buff. And then they also have great utility and DPS options. You can just focus on being really tactical and trading really well with your opponent. You can see, like, I'm pulling away from his infantry kills even further, even though he has a sniper, right? Because all my infantry engagements have been so favorable. So again, we're just staying in the green cover. I'm trading with him at long range. I'm focusing his machine gun out here. Dropped a off-map airburst barrage on his AT gun there to apply some pressure. I was thinking maybe if I could create an opening that I might be able to push in with the Crusaders, but he did a good job of retreating there. Seeing that merge, I'm just retreating my squad that's getting pretty low. Pulling my Crusaders away from the danger of the AT gun. As I see his P4 here, I'm just switching sides of the green cover so he can't hit me. Doing my best to, hitting him with a snare and then backing away. I've got my Gurkha section here covering the middle sector behind these sandbags that I've built, which is great. Overextend a little bit with my section here, but the Valor passive I think is going to allow me to win this engagement. And we managed to force him away.
We're losing a victory point to enemy action.
Get the neutralize on this point. And he can see there he's got no way to contest the center section, so he retreats. Sorry, surrenders, I should say. So that's it. I know a bit of a shorter game, but just wanted to highlight kind of like one of my go-to strategies is UKF against a good player, Theo. Again, I think his major mistakes, as far as I could tell, were probably going for the base healing on his headquarters rather than going for the Vet 1 on his grenadiers and his infantry company, the officer quarters, I should say. I think that really impacted his ability to take good infantry engagements. And then the sniper, you know, while I understand the choice, I do really think like a Fallschirmjäger would have been a better choice there, considering he had gone for the officer quarters in his tier 3. And he would have been able to trade a lot better with my troops if he had two Fallschirmjägers, instead of one. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think, and let me know what else you'd like to see, whether it be more 1v1s against high-level players or team games. Trying to do more of both. But anyway, have a great day. I'll see you guys later.